Good evening and welcome to the June 11th Safety Committee meeting. First item on the agenda this evening is approval of minutes. If you've had a chance to read those.
I have, and I make a motion we approve the minutes.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Minutes have been adopted. We do not have any visitor or public comments this evening. We're going to make a little bit of a pivot on the agenda here, and we're going to go ahead and invite Alley Cats and Aristocats up to give us a report.
Okay, so Wadsworth Alley Cats is a local volunteer group. Just recapping, I know Dan hasn't been here before. You're updated on what this even is?
Oh, I used to sit here.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, you just moved over.
I just was really different out of uniform.
You do. I'm expecting a hat.
Yes.
Okay. So you guys know what we're up to.
They probably aren't aware of it because they're not normally here.
Oh, well, see, they're in uniform, so. Okay, so Wadsworth Alley Cats, we moved into town, lots and lots of cats, especially concentrated in downtown, several hoarding situations, etc. So Danielle and I got together, co-founded really just a Facebook page to see who else, there were private citizens kind of trapping in their own yards and footing the bill themselves. Came to the mayor, asked her whose responsibility, not really municipal responsibility, right? It's county level, but nobody's handling it. So then I talked to Mr. Hiscock. There was already money in the coffer. $5,000, just nobody leading the charge. I don't know if anybody really even knew there was $5,000 budget. So we partnered with Alley Cats and Aristocats. They're a 501c3. They have a brick and mortar building in Medina with open adoption rooms. You can just go hang out with the cats, bring a coffee, bring your kids for a birthday party, whatever. We just want to concentrate on trap, neuter, return. However, it's not always that simple because, I have a mommy cat with babies under my porch, and it's hard to have the heart to, ear tip a 8-week-old kitten and have to put it back out. Kind of counterproductive. So we partner with them. The bigger reason we partner with them is so that the city has insurance coverage under their 501c3 in case the city gets sued or whatever for us traipsing around. And so we are just a volunteer group, literally with day jobs, and we do this on the side to try to help our community. And Mr. Copley reminded me last month when I was at city council meeting that I needed to come in and tell you how we did for the last year. So that, therefore, the cheat sheet. So the first highlight is how many cats we've literally touched. And to be fair, that the 146 is not just in Wadsworth. Wadsworth cats are more representative of, it's probably 120 cats here. But we want to be a legacy program. We've gone down to Orville, we've gone out to Medina, we've gone up to Sharon Township. We're trying to set a good example for the communities around us, in case they have people like us who want to get involved. However, that's a lot of cats because usually it's me, Danielle, and our husbands are doing everything from going out in the evenings and trapping or training, whoever's called us to trap. Then Mike's out sanitizing traps in between because from a public health standpoint, we're trying to eliminate, ear mites are transmittable to people. If there's any rabies, of course we would be coming to you with that kind of stuff, and trying to minimize if there is an illness within the community. Anyway, all of that. We've been able to, almost 20 cats we've been able to find homes for, so that's great, gets them off the streets. Right now we have 1 cat and 7 kittens all in foster care. The good news is we went over the addresses today where we've been, and luckily we're covering all 4 wards. I just wanted to make sure because I'm not sure of all the borders. There's a lot going on Broad down by Grizzly Mart. There's a lot going on on Rainbow, if any of you ever drive there. We've gotten that down from about 40. I mean, they naturally disperse themselves and whatever, but we've gotten that down to probably 15, 20 cats there. We have one left to trap. Everybody else has got rabies. You know, it's just safer for everyone. They don't wander as much when they're fixed and all the things that we want to see. They're not bothering the neighbors. We got 2 grants this year. So we've told the committee before, we want to show in good faith that we're not just relying on the city budget to help with the vet bill. We're raising our own funds because we have to buy our own traps and our own supplies, and we like to occasionally give a gas card because we have people driving 30 minutes to the TNR clinic. And, you know, we're trying to give back to them as well. This winter, we had more than 30 shelters filled with straw. We had community people who were, you know, just feeding the strays. And that's my one caveat. Like, sure, I have 3 houses you can have for your cats, but we're going to come trap them first and fix them. And everybody's been very agreeable to that. I mean, it's a free cat fixing, right? So they've been doing that. We've only had to euthanize 1 cat. We've had 1 amputation, and that cat got adopted. So that was great. Let's see. Oh yeah, you all know the motel that was sitting there until it could be demoed. That always had 1 million cats. It had other people taking care of them, but they were down to the last wild ones. So we took drop traps and we went and helped them get that cleared up before sheets could build. Yeah, and then Danielle and I, like, we're pretty committed to it. Not even that we're crazy cat ladies. We saw a problem, we wanted to fix it. And again, in good faith, like, we've taken TNR certification classes, not required, just something we want to do to be good at what we're up to. We did have 1 panleukopenia. I don't know, it's like dogs get parvo. It's that serious and contagious. We had an outbreak. We limited it to 2 kittens passing away. The mom and more kittens all went to a foster, and they'll be adopted, and there's like 15 in that colony. Nobody else got sick. So we then ended up taking a follow-up class to learn more about panleukopenia because we didn't want that decimating the whole. And then they're wandering down from Bird Park all the way up to Broad. It's crazy how much they wander around. Anyway, also in vein of the grants, we've been at the farmers market here. We've done a fundraiser. We set up a First Friday tent. We did a great envelope challenge last fall. We've been in the newspaper, just a funny thing, and in the Bruin, also in the Gazette, which is just nice to kind of get our name out because we're not doing this we're not paying a lot of money to advertise. All we've done is we donate. We want to donate to things we care about, like First Friday. We respect Main Street Wadsworth. We're on their banner. And we donated to Suprema Senior Center. And part of that is to make a relationship with them so we can do like seniors for seniors. Bring in the old cats so that the cat lovers there can hang out with them. We're lining that up for the fall. We were here last year. We asked you guys to double our budget from 5 to 10, and everything we reported then got voted, and we're not getting bigger, but we're getting more robust. So I wanted to come let you guys know that. And if you ever want to know, like, hey, where are these colonies or where are these hoarding situations, I keep all of that on a spreadsheet. We're pretty professional about the way we try to keep our records. Anybody has a question, all the billing goes through Alley Cats and Aristocats, but they have all of that, all the invoices. So we just the only thing we really want to do, like the coming year, doesn't involve you guys. If we get a call, I live so close to Seville Road. My side is the city, that side is the township. And we get calls and if it's a household that can't donate, we can't use city funds. So we're just trying to gather, we do our fundraising so that we can help, like the farm in Seville. It had a mom and 2 babies. We don't want to say no. They're trying to do a good thing. So we're doing that. We're trying to put the word out on social media. We just need a couple more hands so that it's not the same people. Like you all know, the same people show up for all the things. And that's that's more than you want to know about cats, but we're trying to take care of it.
Okay, good.
Anybody
Appreciate
got-
everything you're doing. Any questions?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and move into our chief reports, and we'll go ahead and start with police. Lieutenant Dave Dorland.
Thank you. In May, the dispatch center handled 3,704 phone calls, and they entered 1,719 calls for service. Of those calls for service, 83% were police-related, and 17% were fire or EMS-related. The totals for May compared to last year represent a 1.5% increase, again, from last May. Looking at the highest average number of calls by the day of the week, Wednesday and Thursday averaged 64 calls for service on those days, followed by Friday, which saw 62 calls for service as the average. And then the busiest times of the day were in the 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock p.m. hours, which is pretty standard, as you can expect. Around that noontime, 1 o'clock, the north end gets really, really busy, so we tend to see a lot, traffic-related calls, and the city just seems to be really busy during those times. Looking at the three districts in the city, District 2 had the most calls for service with 635, followed by District 1 and District 3. And that's pretty typical. I would imagine that most, if not all, of the months tend to see that order of districts as far as call volume is concerned. Any questions about the dispatch statistics?
Not for me.
Looking at the patrol division, in May, the officers made 332 traffic stops, which is a 63% increase from the same time period last year. Year to date, we are at 1,608 traffic stops, which is a 31% increase year to date from 2024. So those are some pretty significant increases. In May, we handled 30 crash reports, 25 of which were property damage only, and 5 of which had some degree of injury. There is one fatal crash listed on the report, and that did occur in the city at Heinwolf, as you're probably aware already. But we did not handle that report. In situations involving most of our fatal crashes, we request mutual aid from the State Patrol to come in and use their expertise to do those investigations. So they handled this particular fatal crash also. If you look at one of the following pages, there were 4 intersections that had multiple crashes in May. The 400 block of College Street had 2 crashes. One was a minor ACDA, and the other one was a failure to yield from a private driveway. Interstate 76 and High Street, that's pretty typical to have multiple crashes in that area, and in May there were 2 crashes, both of which were minor ACDA crashes. High Street at Access Road 8, which is the roadway that runs between Applebee's and Burger King, west off of High Street, had 3 crashes. One was for an improper turn, one was for an ACDA, and the third one was for a failure to yield when making a left turn. Then the fourth intersection that saw multiple crashes was Reimer Road east off of High Street with 2 crashes. One was an ACDA and one was a failure to control. Are there any questions in regards to the traffic statistics or the crash data?
No, not for me.
Thank you.
Looking at the investigative report data, our theft calls were down a little bit in May compared to last year, but they're tracking pretty even year to date between 2024 and 2025. Domestic violence was up a little bit in May compared to last year, but we've been seeing it trending down in 2025 compared to 2024. In fact, it's trending down to about a 20% decrease from last year. Drug-related cases in May were up slightly from last year, and then year-to-date we're seeing about a 48% increase year-to-date compared to 2024, and then OVI-related cases are up 17% year-to-date compared to last year. And I mentioned those two categories together just because they're probably most heavily influenced by the self-initiated activity from the officers. You can imagine the traffic stop activity allows them to engage with more drivers, especially on third shift and a lot on second shift. And so they come across more people that are under the influence of drug or alcohol. Also allows them to come into contact with warrant subjects and the opportunity to make arrests, and which of course leads to searching a prisoner and finding a piece of contraband on them, or having to tow a vehicle from a DUS or from an arrest and they find drug-related activity inside those vehicles. So when we see increases like that, as I covered earlier, the huge increase in traffic stops probably has some correlation to the increase of the drug-related and the OVI types of cases.
Do you think the passage of the marijuana is part of that also falling under the drug-related?
So the marijuana laws changed about a year ago. I would anticipate the decrease, I guess, in drug cases as far as...
Because it's not, that wouldn't fall in there?
Right.
Okay.
Councilman, were you asking if...
I guess I'm saying that...
Were you asking if the passage of the marijuana laws is increasing the OVI?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because that would fall under OVI, not drug activity, correct? Because that's no longer considered drug activity, drug-related?
Correct.
Okay, that's where I was trying to get to. I'm sorry. Thank you for helping me rephrase that. Safety Director Chafin.
And then the last investigative category I'll comment on are the mental illness calls at the bottom of that table. Those have been trending down just a little bit, both in May compared to last May and also year to date. We do like to keep track on those just because they can be complex calls for the officers to handle. They often, if not always, require a multiple officer response. And they can be time-consuming and require a lot of resources from our officers. So we're always very interested to see what that data consists of from month to month. And then looking at the total investigative reports, 87 reports in May compared to 106 last year, which is an 18% decrease. And then year-to-date, we're down 9% for total reports so far.
Okay, any questions?
No questions for me?
Total arrests for May were at 27. That's down quite a bit from last May. But looking year to date, they're pretty much even between 2024 this time of the year and so far in 2025. So I don't see anything significant there. And then looking at the non-investigative report calls for service, these are calls that the officers respond to and don't involve an investigation, don't usually result in an arrest or any further activity from the officers. The top call for service that our officers responded to in May were for assisting a householder or a motorist. That was 100 calls, 85 calls involving a traffic or parking complaint, and 80 calls involving a suspicious person or a vehicle. As always, we had several opportunities to do community outreach in May. I'll just touch on a couple of them. May is always the time of the year when the elementary schools come down and have tours of the police department and city hall and the fire department. So our school resource officers are pretty much engaged with taking care of those. So lots of opportunities to engage with the younger kids in doing those tours. We had the monthly Feeding Medina County event down at the football stadium that we participate in every single month. And then our officers provided traffic control and security for the Memorial Day Parade. In May, we had 5 training events that our officers attended, and I'll just touch on a few of them here. The Medina County Drug Task Force was hosting a SWAT-style training. That's a week long and involves a lot of advanced tactics and really good firearms training. We have a really good relationship with that unit, so they invited us to send an officer for free to participate in this training. So it allowed one of our firearms instructors to participate and again get some really advanced, interesting training at no charge to the department. We were lucky to get 2 officers into M&P Handgun Armorers course down in West Virginia. And again, these were free slots that we were able to get our officers into. Unfortunately, these courses are few and far between, and when they are available in the area, they're usually pretty expensive. So when we had the opportunity, we jumped at the chance to get these officers into this course for free. This essentially is a full day of the officers learning to break down these guns, replace parts, diagnose, learn how to maintain them. So we were able to increase the number of officers that we have in the department that are able to do this work on all of our department handguns. And then the third training was a first responder wellness symposium that several of our officers attended for free over in Kent. Our officer of the month was Detective Cody Lemiel. This is one of those situations where it allows us to talk about our officers and the great work that they did throughout the month. Our officer of the month is voted on by all of our supervisors, and it usually involves just really good work, outreach in the community, a whole host of things, that whole body of work during that month. Detective Lemiel has this really amazing talent of using all these technological resources and databases, cameras, the flock system, and he is just able to solve these crimes by using all of these resources available to him. So I'll talk about 4 of the cases that he had in May that led to him being chosen as the Officer of the Month. First, he investigated a child solicitation case involving a suspect from another state, hundreds of miles away. He was able to identify the suspect, and he's currently working with the local law enforcement agency in that other state to further the investigation. Indications are that there's probably more victims out there, so just his ability to interact with these other agencies and provide them with the information might help them identify these other victims and hopefully get some additional charges against this suspect. Detective Lemiel was able to positively identify the suspect and the suspect vehicle that was associated with several vape store break-ins, not only one that was in the city here, but also throughout the whole area. Several of these vape stores were broken into with merchandise and cash being stolen, and Detective Lemiel was the person who was able to track down the suspect and the suspect vehicle, and is working with these other jurisdictions to get these cases solved. He had a case also that involved a credit card skimmer being placed in a Wadsworth business. These suspects, as you probably read on the news, they're usually involved in placing similar devices across the region and in many different stores. So Detective Lemiel got on this case, and he was able to identify the suspect vehicle. He worked with Akron Police and was able to identify the suspects, and hopefully that's going to lead to some charges. The biggest case that we handled in April and leading into May involved a situation where we got a call from a resident in another state who stated that her credit card had been used at a Wadsworth business. She'd never been to Wadsworth. She didn't know anybody in Wadsworth. She didn't know, she wasn't familiar with the store where the credit card was used. So once Detective Lemiel got into the case, he was able to quickly identify the rental vehicle that was being used by the suspect, and then traced it back to the suspect who was driving the vehicle. So this is one of the situations where he used the flock cameras. He was able to track the suspect. They were able to get it stopped by a nearby agency and get the person arrested. The vehicle was impounded, the search warrant was conducted, and incriminating evidence was recovered from that vehicle. This is a huge case and it's still ongoing, so I won't provide a whole lot of information, but it was a really huge win for this business that had been victimized many times by this suspect, and we're learning that his criminal activities have extended way beyond just Wadsworth and involved more than just credit card fraud at this point. So I'm pretty confident that without Detective Lemiel's determination, his abilities, his talents, all these cases probably wouldn't have been solved, or would have taken a lot longer to get these suspects identified and the charges filed against them.
Okay.
Any questions?
None.
Great report. Do you have any questions? Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to the fire report with Assistant Chief Potter.
Good afternoon. Well, we'll start with the fire data. So in the month of May, we had 17 fire calls, which is down from this time last year by 7%. We had 12 in the city, 3 in the township, and we provided mutual aid to 2 calls. We had 13 officer responses. Inspection activities were 23. Car seat and public ed events were 11. Our average response time was 5 minutes and 43 seconds. Our average firefighter on duty was 4.65, which is down from May of 2024. Average firefighter recall was 1.59, which is also down from May of 2024. And our average total firefighter turnout was 6.24, which is also down from 2024 in May. The property types of calls, 1 and 2 family dwelling is the most occurring, followed by 24-hour healthcare facilities. Our overall times, so the busiest times were around 1 o'clock in the afternoon and 4 o'clock. And then incidents by station, we had 186 out of Station 1 and 92 out of Station 2. Have any questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The decline in the recall and average turnout, you think that is it vacations beginning? I mean, that's a percentage is a big drop, but individually it's not, numbers wise it's not. Was there any idea why in May?
We did have a member who's on paternity leave.
Okay.
And he was transitioning from full-time to part-time, so that created some open shifts, and then
Okay.
so that's probably part of the reason
Sure.
it dropped almost 1 person, because it's
Yeah.
1 less person
Yep.
that's usually there.
Okay. Thank you.
So our incident types, the 300 series is always leading there, because it's EMS calls, and those are the majority of our calls. So our EMS data by the districts, we had a total of 248 calls. 224 of those were in the city and 22 were in the township. We had 2 outside of our district. City 1 district had the most calls for the month of May. And then our average response time in May was 3 minutes and 56 seconds for EMS. Our other statistics here, mutual aid given, we provided mutual aid twice, we received it once. Second ambulance calls went up from last year, we're at 74. Our third ambulance was at 13, which was slightly up, and then the fourth ambulance calls was down at only 2. We called for manpower 12 times, which was up quite a bit from last year. Any questions there?
No, sir.
None for me, thank you.
So our hospital transports, Wadsworth is the main hospital that we've transported to, but Barberton is right behind it there. So those are our 2 main hospitals to transport to. Our EMS yearly comparison, we are at 1,297 calls, which is an 8% increase. Total calls for service are 1,474, which is a 9% increase. ALS, we had 117. BLS, 78. We did not give anybody Narcan in May. We did have one overdose patient, though. And the ambulance information, Medic 2 and 4 are out of Station 2, and Medic 1 and 3 are out of Station 1. So Station 1 runs more of the calls, so those ambulances go on more calls. And our daily call volume, Thursday and Friday, we're pretty close there as our most calls. Any questions?
No.
None for me.
All right. So our in-house training, we started testing our large diameter hose and started testing and flowing the dry hydrants to make sure those are functioning properly. We did have Ohio Edison come out and do electrical safety training. The police department was invited that as well. We also did a firefighter fatality review. EMS, we did some trauma training and run review. We had quite a few people go to some outside training. So we had 3 go to a trauma conference. And we had 2 go to an aerial operations course that was held at the Ohio Fire Academy. So those classes are minimal cost for us. We had 3 members actually go to critical incident stress management class. And we had a member who is joining the hazmat team. He went to a lithium-ion battery and electrical vehicle training. Me and another member went to a mental health type training. And then some vehicle driver's training and pump operations. The month of May is always busy for us for public education with the tours, so we get a lot of the elementary schools and preschools and that come in and tour the station. Any questions about any of that?
I don't.
Did anyone want to say who won the Memorial softball game? I mean, do we want to get that on TV or?
I believe the police department may have won. I think that was the final result of the game.
Okay.
Usually not a matter of who wins, but how much we win by.
Okay.
How many votes we win by.
When
Okay.
we get into the staffing update, we'll discuss how we're evaluating potential officer candidates and their softball skills to try to keep that.
I'm sure that's an occasional question. Okay, any questions?
I've got no questions.
No questions for me. Thank you for your report. All right, so we'll go ahead and move into staffing updates. Our new safety director, Mr.
Thank you,
Dan
Councilman.
Schaefer.
So exciting time at the police department. I will focus a little bit here. Obviously, my move from the department to the safety director position is going to create potentially several moves within the police department. So I will let the committee know that we are underway. We have opened up the next chief selection process. It's our goal to complete that by the end of the month. Obviously, it's an important position. We want to make sure that it gets filled as soon as possible. That move may create additional supervisory needs, and so it also let the committee know that myself and HR have already started working on laying the groundwork for those potential future promotional opportunities as well. As an update, we will have our next 2 new officers. They will be starting in the month of August, pending their final PT test at the State Patrol Academy. Both of those candidates need the academy, so when they do start in August, they will be off to OSP, and they will not be back until early January of next year when they can start in their field training process. My move will also create an open spot in the organization. While we want to move on that as quickly as possible, it's equally important that the next chief and the leadership of the department have an opportunity to weigh in on that selection too. So our focus right now is going to be focused on those promotional processes that we need to, and then once those folks are set in place, we'll then turn around and evaluate the best time to give a test for potential candidates to fill that spot as well. On the firefighter and paramedic process update, I am coming in pretty well into the process for those full-time positions. I think they've completed the interviews and are very close to making some selections for candidates to move forward in that process as well. I will also speak to the dispatcher process. So we did give a civil service test. We are now in the second round of interviews for those candidates. We had some second rounds last week. We're taking a pause so that I can get my feet under me this week, and then in the next week we'll complete that. We also had one new lateral applicant as well. Initial indications so far that is a good potential group, so we're excited about that process, and hopefully we'll have some further updates on that at the next meeting. But we will be looking for 3 positions in dispatch there. Any questions on the staffing updates?
I have none.
I did have one. What's a rough cost on sending someone to police academy?
So it depends on the academy. So if we go to OSP, OSP is free. There is no cost for that academy. We are paying the officer to be there. That's 75% of the base rate for the department, so they are receiving salary and benefits and all those things while they're there, but strictly the academy cost is free if you go to OSP. Now, there are ancillary costs. There's certain specific pieces of equipment, gear, and uniforms that they need for those, so there's definitely some costs associated with that. We also provide those officers ammunition, so there's a cost on that as well. But the academy itself is actually free. OSP typically runs 2 academies, so one fall academy and one spring academy, and they're generally timed up in August and February. So the only downside to that is that if you don't have somebody whose hiring process, which for these 2 gentlemen here is kind of the case where we have a long gap before we're getting them to that academy. I will say though that the reason for that being generally our preferred academy is not because it's free to the department. It's a significantly different level of training. It's residential, you're there Monday through Friday. It's a lot more rigorous, a bigger focus on PT. You're going to get more time at the range, more time on defensive tactics. I will always tell new candidates as well too, if you think about it, the state patrol, they may have 1,000 troopers throughout the state. So when they're making selections to bring people in to teach those classes, they're typically at a very high caliber with a lot of experience, whether that's on the legal side of things or whether that's in the mat room for defensive tactics. So I do think that it is very high quality training, and I think pretty consistently the folks that have been to the academy, through that academy for us, have typically done pretty well once they get back. None of that has meant a knock on any of the other academies, but so for example, the University of Akron, that's right around $5,400 to send somebody to. They also, there's some of those things that we have to pick up, so it's the $5,400 plus we're also paying that person, and in some cases providing a vehicle as well too. So we have had an officer recently, our first 2, one is done and then one is in there now. We went with Lorain County, which first impression, very professional staff, seems to be very professional training. That is $6,200 roughly for that academy. So there's pluses and minuses to both. Akron's is a little faster, but obviously there's a cost associated. Lorain's is about the same time as OSP's, and there's certainly a cost to it. Plus there's an hour commute that's built into that. So, providing a vehicle or gas or anything else that goes into that. But that's roughly what we're looking at for the cost there.
Okay, thank you.
If that triggers any follow-up questions, happy to address those as well.
No, I was just
Yep.
curious. Okay. All right, well, I guess we'll go to other. Does anyone have anything further?
Just a few items. One, today we had the law enforcement torch run for Special Olympics. We had great participation from the department, but also members from the court and law office participated as well. So shout out to dispatch supervisor Katie Sendia for really being the organizing party behind that. The mayor also accompanied us as well today too, so it was a good run for the officers. Just to let the committee know, obviously with Chief Linder not being here today and also this being day 3 for me, I know there have been some continuing questions about EMS billing and care facilities and calls there, so I was just going to blanketly say it has not fallen off the radar, but if we give us some time to touch base and have some more discussion with that at the next meeting. We've been reviewing the Square accident data as well too. I was just going to say to the committee, you know, at this stage we've got, since it was 2019 to current, that's about 128 accidents. My suggestion was going to be, instead of doing that on a monthly basis, when we're only adding a couple accidents here or there, we're not drastically changing that data, so that might be something that we want to review on a quarterly basis. Or if Lieutenant Dorland or the next chief notices an anomaly at some point, we could certainly bring that to your attention, but just wanted to raise that issue.
I think part of that is with having the stakeholder meetings today for the future infrastructure and streetscape. I think that that information might be very helpful to the engineers. I think that's where we're going with it. Some of the subjects came up, you know, do we consider backing in parking? Do we keep angled parking? Do we go to, you know, straightening the roads? And I think that's why Mr. Copley and I had thought about too. That's great information to feed.
I think it's excellent
to those who will be doing the engineering, because that's going to change a whole lot of, you know, that might change a whole lot of how things develop downtown. I think that was part of the point of let's look at the safety of this. So.
There was also some emails since our last meeting about some speed traffic related complaints on Rainbow Street.
Yes.
And there was some discussion in that chain, so I wanted to make sure that I brought that up this meeting as well. So Rainbow Street is a challenge as far as enforcement goes, based on just the nature of the street. In terms of it being very short, it's very narrow. There isn't really any place for a cruiser to sit and not be seen in that area. And as we've discussed in some other areas before, if you park a cruiser on that road, nobody's going to do anything. The officer's going to watch it for half an hour, report back to us that there were no traffic infractions, and then be much less motivated to go back out there the next time we have to tell them that they're there. I would tell the committee that, you know, with not just traffic, but with other criminal-related activity, I would say our presence in that area has increased significantly in recent months anyways. So I feel like there's generally, especially on late second shift, early third shift, a lot of officer presence in that area. So the other aspect of that was there had been the suggestion of, is it possible to implement something like speed bumps or something like that on that stretch? Again, with some limited knowledge and researching this a little bit more, the speed bumps are somewhat problematic. They're problematic for plows in the wintertime. They can damage both the speed bump itself, but also the plow and the truck. They can be damaging to vehicles themselves as they're going through there, which may also include our public safety vehicles as well. But there are several other options. I've learned in the last 3 days that there is a difference between humps and bumps when it comes to speed, and there's also something called a speed table, which is a little bit different design in terms of you have the roadway and then an increase that's designed to, it sits as a table that's about wide enough for an average car that does cause a bump. It's a little bit more gradual. You do need to slow down going over it, but it doesn't have the same potential for damage and things like that. There have been some changes with those implementations and with some changes in our engineering office. I will tell the committee that that is something that we believe now that we might be able to investigate further, but there would still need to be further legal review and also some engineering review that goes into that as well too. As it sits on Rainbow, I don't know that that would necessarily be a great solution, because there are some recommendations and best practices that involve not being near driveways or other access points to the road, and the way that one is set up. So I don't know that for that particular one, but I just wanted to put that on the committee's radar, that that's something that we are in the initial stages of exploring, and I'm personally kind of excited about what that may lead, because while it may not be helpful for that situation, it may be helpful and impactful for other consistent speeding areas that we have throughout the city. So something just to put that on the radar. And then Councilman Rosbert, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I assumed that we would talk about e-bikes at some
Yes.
point and those things during the meeting, so I can pass these down, but these are not the actual posts, but this is basically some of the content that we have been working on here. Once we get the final okay from the law office that these are accurate reflections of the code, which I believe they are. These are basically a summer safety series as far as biking and e-bikes goes, what we would like to start communicating on social media. My only suggestion to this is that perhaps we move the no motor use on sidewalks up from post 5 closer to post 2, somewhere in that nature, because I think that is primarily been the chief complaint. I will also say there was a post that Medina put out, so I did reach out to Medina, and just for clarification, they do not have their own ordinance. They're operating off of the state code. I think there was the one post in particular that mentioned no e-bikes on the sidewalk. That's not actually what the law says. You have to pedal it if you're on the sidewalk. I think they just perhaps went for a more direct and maybe easier to understand approach, but I just wanted some clarification for the committee that they do not have any additional ordinances beyond the state law. So we will try to get this up and running and out there in terms of an education campaign. I do legitimately believe that probably a lot of kids and or parents or e-bike users do not know or are not aware that there are these regulations in place. So hopefully that does help, or at least spark some additional discussion in the community about what those rules are.
And that's why I wanted to share the Bay Village one.
I appreciated the Bay Village post, and I can share that internally as well too, in terms of the graphics and what it looks like and what it's covering.
I thought they did a nice job with it. I've been trying to keep an eye on other cities. First Friday last week got a little crazy with the motorized bikes and scooters and kids on the sidewalks with all the people on the sidewalk. And I don't know if that's something that we would want to even look at as, in the downtown district, when we have events like that, no bikes. I did talk to a couple of kids. A couple of them were very, very nice and understood, and they said, we'll walk them, and they did. And then there's a certain amount that just lip off and tell you they're going to do whatever they want, and you can't do anything about it. But it was very dangerous because it was right down by the pocket park. And people were ducking and diving, the kids were popping wheelies, and that's frustrating. We don't need anybody getting hurt, whether it's the kids or the adults. So that's kind of why I'm on this tangent about this. And,
Understood. Yep.
And I know several businesses have really been up in arms about the bikes flying by their businesses. People step out and some of these e-bikes. So it's just something I think we need to keep on our radar and keep educating people. It's a safety issue. We don't want anybody getting hurt, whether it's the rider of the bike or the pedestrian or anything. But we're seeing more of them. So.
Nothing further for me unless there's any questions.
Okay, Lieutenant Dorland?
Blue Tip Parade is coming up on Tuesday. Lots of work goes into that, not only with the planning from the police side, but also lots of interdepartmental collaboration with the other city departments. We'll be having the sheriff's office come down to assist in some logistics. Some officers from Montville PD will also be here to help with bike patrol. EMA will be lending us some resources also. So lots that goes on behind the scenes to make sure that the parade route is safe and the spectators are safe and just to avoid any issues and people can just enjoy the event. So just wanted to point out that lots of planning goes into a large event like this, and it seems like we take more and more safeguards every year as we have those available to us, and as different world events occur and it kind of changes the dynamics of what those threats are, we try to address those just to make sure that we're kept safe here.
Okay, thank you. Assistant Chief Bonner?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, nothing from me. Mr. Osborne?
Kudos to our detectives for pressing on with the pocket park vandalism and getting that handled. Again, it's something that it's frustrating that we're doing all these nice things in the community. Things are getting vandalized and damaged. I know there were some things down at the new playground, the blue chip destination playground, some graffiti inside the buildings. And it's just frustrating. We're trying to do great things for the citizens, and it just takes a few to ruin it. But kudos to the officers that really pursued that. I know it took a couple of weeks. They worked with the schools and the SRO, and charges were brought, and hopefully the kids will realize that this community is going to hold them accountable for their actions, and hopefully their parents do too. I mean, some of it comes down to parenting, and some of it comes down to all of us as a community trying to help raise these kids, which, when you have kids that mouth off, it's a little frustrating, but it happens. So kudos to them. That's all I have.
Perfect. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.